What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Under Review. My name is KOD X Factor, where we look at all the latest and greatest games that come out on all the platforms. This week we are looking at an indie title from an indie developer, TreeFall Studios. We are looking at PitterPot. Now, the good old days of 3D platformers lives on with TreeFall Studios' project PitterPot, a game that has seen development changes since inception, moving from a Wii U title to the PC to now being released on the PlayStation 4. The Switch version is also still coming, so it's not out as of right now, but yes, it is still coming. Now, some studios would have actually just thrown in the towel on the project and move on to their next adventure. But TreeFall actually held firm and gave us a very entertaining platformer with simple yet delightful story that has an evil kudzu, if I'm mispronouncing that, please let me know, taking over the plants in PitterPot's garden. You will assume the role of a potted plant who sets out in a 5-world, 17-level game where you set out to collect acorns to take down the villain vine. You see what I did there? Now, the main story is not so integral to the gameplay, which is a little bit of a downer, but not a game buster. I was hoping that there was going to be kind of like interweaving between the main plot to the gameplay, which didn't really happen, but that's okay. Your first level is more of an introductory level. Think of actually the first world is more of like an introductory world. It kind of gets you used to the basics, gets you used to the mechanics, some of the tools, and some of the tricks of the trade. You learn all the basic, simple gameplay mechanics. Each level will have you gathering acorns, golden pots, and seeds. And there are going to be a set number of each in every level you come into contact with. So if you're like me and you're a completionist and you aim to attain all the trophies in the game, then you will have to beat each level with 100% accuracy. That means you're going to have to gather 100% of the acorns, 100% of the golden pots, and 100% of the seeds. Now, they will vary based on level, but a majority of the levels have 4 acorns, about 5 golden pots, and anywhere between 50 to 100 seeds. Now, I mean, like I said, that's what I set out to do. I went out to try to be a completionist. Now, I did that through most of the worlds. However, when the difficulty does increase, trying to get 100 seeds became more and more of an afterthought, especially if you fall in between cracks, plummeting to your death to start from the very beginning of the level. And if you made it to the back end of the level before you fell, you just tend to kind of throw your hands up in agony. But that's the fun part of it. That's the fun part about it, at least for me anyhow. I love a solid degree of difficulty because 100%ing a level, I get that sense of accomplishment that not a lot of mainstream games offer nowadays, Dark Souls aside. Now, the controls are pretty solid as well, a modernized control scheme with platformers as of today. However, I have noticed that there are some ghosting, which is my term for after jumping to a platform or moving in any direction, the character doesn't seem to immediately stop moving in that given direction for a second or two. Once you lay off the controls, that is. Now, this had me leading to falling off of ledges in some spots or into a giant snowball coming down a ramp. After a few levels of this happening, though, I did become more accustomed to it and was able to compensate. Now, the game does have pretty solid level design and are all joined into a central hub that is broken off into 5 different worlds. Each world is accessible with acorns, which you gain in each level that you play. Now, I like the varied weather effects in the worlds, which adds a little bit to the game as well, and the music. I think the music is actually toned just well enough for a game like this and doesn't get in the way of the gameplay itself. Sometimes indie developers overdo it with the music a little bit just to kind of make up for the lack of voice acting and sound effects. But a game like this doesn't need really voice acting. They're plants, for crying out loud. And each level is completed by gaining all the golden pots and acorns, because once you collect 5 golden pots, they give you 1 acorn. And you complete the level in one of 2 ways, which was kind of a little confusing to me. You can either just hit the option button and just hit the button that says end level. Or you can simply just go back to the start of the level and hit the exit button. There's a little exit pot there. Me personally, I always went back to the beginning just because I like a little bit more difficulty. I just wish there was that one option instead of just having to have both of them at my disposal. That feels just a little bit too easy to me. But the platformer genre is supposed to be a bit difficult, so that way it justifies a 2 to 4 hour campaign. But overall, PitterPot is a solid nod to the nostalgia of 3D platforming of the early 90s, and features a degree of difficulty that makes it approachable by all ages and skill sets. The controls could be a bit tighter, but once you're used to them, they become more of an afterthought. The level design is actually pretty cool, and the soundtrack was pretty solid. You can tell the amount of work that went into the indie title and appreciate where it drew its inspirations from. So with that, we gave PitterPot a PlayStation 4, I won't say exclusive because it is coming to the Switch later on down the line, but PitterPot, we gave that a solid 8 out of 10. It was a great platforming game. It's priced just right, $10 gets you the game. All ages can play it, so if you have youngsters that don't mind or love the platforming type games, they're gonna love this game. Even some of your parents, some of the older crowds may get into it as well. It's a fun little adventure and offers up some interesting gameplay mechanics as you go. So that's gonna do it for me. I'm KOD X Factor. This is Under Review, and until next time, everybody, game on.